You know, I'm not a public speaker. I'm a musician, actually, and a businessman. And so I'm going to start this off like I would as a musician. How's everybody doing tonight? I want to hear some hooting and hollering from you, because you know what? We got to get excited. And this is, in some ways, kind of a dry subject. So I need you to stay with me. Got to stay with me. I'd like to thank all the people who have put their time and energy into this project. And I also thank each and every one of you for coming out today and showing your patriotic spirit. Let's have a big hand of applause for we the people. Come on, let's get it. Big, 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 big. Come on. Okay, before I start into the meat of the issue I came to speak about, I just want to say that I know all of you are extremely excited and optimistic about the untold positive benefits the new health care law will bring us. And they told me to throw in a joke at the start of my talk, and this is the biggest joke I could think of. Nobody told me it needed to be funny. On to serious issues. How many of you have nightmares about this day? This is April 15th. This is tax day. How many like paying your taxes? Anybody like that? No. So. How many of you think our system of taxation is too complex? How many of you are pissed that some of the most reprehensible tax dodgers in the United States are our representatives in Washington? How many are upset that drug dealers, prostitutes, illegal workers, and just a general class of criminals don't pay taxes at all? How about the fact that there are people much more wealthy than you or I that end up paying little or no taxes because they have lawyers and accountants to find the special loopholes that allow them to avoid paying a fair share? Or that Congress uses the tax code to grant special deals to the groups they like and to punish those they don't. Personally, I'm sick of the whole thing. Endless paperwork, saving receipts, and knowing that the best financial planning can be wiped away with a stroke of the president's pen. There is another way. Another way to ensure revenues to fund the government, because we need some government, as much as I hate to say that, and to get rid of Congress' constant meddling, constant paperwork, and uncertainty about the outcome. Does this sound good to anyone? Okay, any of you that listened to Mike Huckabee during his primary campaign last year probably heard about the fair tax. Problem is, you can't explain it in a soundbite. It's completely different from the current 67,000 page tax code. 67,000 pages. In fact, it is so simple that when it was introduced into both houses of Congress, the bill was just a little over 50 pages. Compare that to the new health care law that is in 2 parts and weighs in at over 3,000 pages. Simple is good. What's so good about it? Well, aside from no more federal deductions from your paycheck, the fair tax is a consumption rather than an income tax. That means the government will no longer care how much you make or how you make it. And really, that's none of their business anyway. So the upshot is that you get your wages without federal deductions. No income tax deduction, no FICA. And everybody notice that the FICA for those working poor like us is generally the largest deduction there is. That takes care of Social Security and Medicare. The fair tax includes that. It's a federal sales tax. When you buy items or service, the price is included, or the tax is included in the price. Then at the end of the year, you have to do nothing. You're paid up. You know, it's just like we pay sales tax in California. Oh, but we've also got an income tax. What's up with that? We have to pay both? No, the fair tax gets rid of the income tax, gets rid of the IRS, in fact. Repeals the amendment, and I don't even remember the number of the amendment. Repeals the amendment. Who said? Somebody say the number of the amendment? Ah, don't worry about it. Anyway, stay with me now, because this is where it gets a little harder to explain. Many people think it's a flat tax. And in the last few days, you've heard a lot about what they call a VAT tax. please write your congressman right now and say, no, we don't want a VAT tax. Because what that's going to be is a national sales tax on top of the system we already have. And it's the worst kind of tax. A guy who goes out in the woods and cuts a tree and then brings it to the mill and sells it to the mill has to charge the mill tax. Then the mill cuts it into a board and takes it to a distributor, and he has to charge him tax. And then the distributor takes it to a furniture maker and has to charge him tax. And everywhere along the line, somebody adds value to that piece of wood, and it's taxed again. So at the end of the time, when you buy it, you're not only paying tax on the item, you're paying tax on all the other taxes that were already paid on it. Taxes on taxes. The VAT tax, no. Tell them no. Okay, I had to digress on that a little bit because I'll tell you what, that is a bad deal, and they're talking about it. Because Washington just now noticed that the spending's out of control. They just now noticed that the deficit's really big. Oh yeah, okay, what's the ploy here? Spend, 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 spend. And then when you bring it into a hole so deep that you can't get it out, then you say, well, we didn't see this coming. Really? You didn't see this coming. Okay, now they say, well, you know, we're gonna have to do something really incredible to get out of this. And they're gonna raise your taxes. And they've already figured out how to do it through the healthcare law. And the next thing they're going to do is say, we'll never get out of this hole unless we have this VAT tax. Don't go for it. Don't go for it. It's a ripoff. Okay, now, back to the fair tax. People say, well, you know, if it's a sales tax, yeah, you'll be getting your whole check, but the price of everything will rise. And that's true. It temporarily will, at least. It will take some time for producers of goods and services to get rid of the army of accountants and lawyers that keep them from paying. Because you know what? None of us want to pay more taxes than we can get away with paying. That is human nature. But because of a few interesting features of the fair tax, you as a consumer will have some control of the amount you pay, unlike the current system. First, if you are a frugal person, or a tightwad, as my wife calls it, you will spend less and therefore be taxed less. Duh. Think of it this way. Does everybody know who Al Gore is? He's a Nobel Prize winning global warming hoax guy. He has a lot of money. So he goes out to dinner and he has a lobster. Now I'm just going to make up some numbers for this. Say he goes to a fancy restaurant, pays $100 for this lobster. We're talking about under the fair tax now. About $25 of that will be tax. But you, because you're poor like me, I'm going to have ramen for dinner. And because I'm really hungry, I'm going to have a whole dollar's worth. That's 25 cents of that is tax. See, he spends 100 times as much, or, you know, and he pays 100 times more tax. So people with expensive appetites will just kind of automatically pay more taxes. And if you have a lot of money, you probably have more expensive appetites.